of station staff, management, and advertisers.
All right, what's going on, everybody? A very happy Wednesday. I hope everyone's doing good out there, of course. Occupy Democrats Network, Washington Press Network, broadcasting everywhere. The FMAM dial KSHP, my personal YouTube page at PTL Radio Show. And we appreciate you guys being a part of the show. We got the super chat going on YouTube, the website pushingthelimits.live. And yes, Donald Trump embarrassing himself on the world stage again, meeting with the Ireland Prime Minister. We're going to talk about that, making some very, very controversial comments once again. And what will Donald Trump be selling outside the White House today? Will he be hawking more Teslas? We'll find out about that. But I want to get right into this, particularly this not meeting, but press conference and meeting that Donald Trump had with the Ireland Prime Minister. A lot to dissect. And what better person to talk about this? You know, I'm so happy. Every time I say this, it brings a smile to my face that Midas Touch has the #1 podcast around, and they're beating Joe Rogan. And I hope that continues, and I see no reason why it won't. And one of my favorite follows on social media, of course, is Ron Filipkowski, who is nice enough to join us as he does pretty much on a weekly basis. Ron, it's a pleasure to see you again, my friend. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. I'm following what's going on in the Senate right now behind closed doors with the Democrats on the CR. If you want to get to that in a few after you talk about Ireland.
Yes, I do want to get to that, Ron. God, there's so much to talk about. Can I start here? Donald Trump, it appears, was able to offend people of the Jewish faith and Palestinians in the same sentence. He said this before. Chuck Schumer's not Jewish. He's now Palestinian, almost using that as a slur. What do you make of that? And then we'll get to some of the other idiotic things he said.
Yeah, he's used that line many times before. What he's talking about is that he's sympathetic to people in Gaza, right? So he's not a true Jew. He's like disloyal to Israel because he also is sympathetic to what the people in Gaza are going through, not Hamas, the people, right? And there's a distinction there. So yeah, I mean, that's one of his favorite slurs, which of course, again, if any other politician in America said something like that, that would basically be like the end of their career. But, Trump does this stuff so often, that people are like desensitized to it, including media,
Yeah. I mean, talked about
the conversation about the tariffs, that was,
yeah.
As soon as he said that, and keep in mind, he said that right in front of the Irish Prime Minister, where a reporter asked him, he's talking about the trade deficit with Ireland. And we've always had, a pretty good trade deficit with Ireland because like the average income in Ireland is not very high. And it definitely wasn't high 10 years ago. And it was even worse 20 years ago. And they simply just don't have a lot of money to buy American products, import American products. It's just the way it always is. But there is a lot of cheap labor in Ireland and hardworking people in Ireland. And so our companies will have set up factories in Ireland. So that accounts for some of the trade deficit. But it's gotten better. I mean, over the decades, over the years. And in fact, last year, it got significantly better. So for Trump to kind of go out of his way to take a shot at Ireland and say, he actually said they're ripping us off in front of the Irish PM. Well, as soon as he said it, I know Irish media. I follow European media every day. And I knew, I said right away, I posted on Twitter, I said, that's going to be the headline in all the Irish newspapers tomorrow is they're ripping us off. None of the other stuff he said is going to matter. It's going to be that line is going to be played up in Ireland. And so we add another country to our enemies list, along with, Greenland, Denmark, Canada, Mexico, Panama. I'm losing track. Ukraine.
Yeah, I am as well. But Ron, speaking of tariffs, what did you make of Caroline Leavitt yesterday getting into it with I believe it was it an AP reporter? I'm trying to remember. I think, yeah. And she clearly said something that was idiotic and stupid and doesn't understand how tariffs work or is lying about it, either or. And then she attacks the reporter. What did you make of her response there?
Here's the problem is that Caroline Leavitt just doesn't know anything about anything, and that's a real serious problem. And she doesn't appear to be interested in doing the work to learn. You see, because I'm going to give Kayleigh McEnany some credit here on something. All right. So I mean, even though I don't particularly like Kayleigh McEnany, but you know, when she went in as press secretary, press secretary is the job. It's sort of like a quarterback on a football team, where a quarterback on a football team is the only one who has to know everyone else's job, right? They have to know what the wide receiver is supposed to do, the line, the coach, everything. Everybody else on the field just has to know their job. A quarterback has to know everyone else's job as well as his own. So a press secretary is exactly like that in a White House, where they have to know what DOJ is doing, Commerce is doing, you know, DHS is doing. They have to know what is happening across the government, because they're going to get asked questions by media about a wide range of things, and they have no idea what those questions are going to be. And so what did Kayleigh knew she didn't know any of that stuff. So she studied her ass off.
And she brought that big book with her. Yeah.
She would bring in the big binder, and she had notes, and she talked about how many hours she would spend working that binder and preparing it so that she would have answers. And KJP did it. And who was before KJP? Jen Psaki had the same kind of big ass binder. They all do, because there's no way that you can know all of that off the top of your head, right? But Levitt, who's 27 years old and who got her job because she, I guess, looked and sounded good to Trump on Fox when she ran for Congress in New Hampshire and got annihilated in her election. Then she married a 60-year-old rich guy, which even probably made her appeal to Trump even more. And so she just doesn't know anything. And she walks in with no notes. So when she gets asked the most basic questions about economics, she doesn't know the answer. She's just up there bullshitting. And when she runs out of Trump talking points, you know, then she's out of material and she doesn't know what to do. So she just throws the insult game out. Like she cut that, you know, that guy's trying to have a serious conversation about tariffs. And as soon as she said, "Oh, who you with? AP?" "Oh, well, that figures," and moves on. That's the same move that Trump does. If he gets a question he doesn't like or doesn't know the answer to, he'll ask, what our outfit are you with? They'll say NBC.
Ron, he just did that. Ron, he just did that on his plane on Air Force One. Yeah, that's
a move. And he'll just say, "Oh, they suck. Next question."
Yep.
That's his move and her move to get out of a question that they don't know the answer to.
Good segue, Ron, to my next question, because on Air Force One the other day, he was asked, you know, is Putin making you look bad? Because Putin, obviously, with the airstrikes a few days ago, and Donald Trump's response is, "Oh, well, who are you with?" And you and I have been talking about this a lot, the fact that all the fake promises, but one of them, which was the war is going to be over in 24 hours. In fact, he said the war would be over before he even got into office. And he was asked about that again today, and he gave a stupid answer. What do you make of that? I mean, I think right now what's happening in Ukraine, you can make the argument worse now than it was 7 weeks ago before he even got into office. Another false, promise that wasn't fulfilled.
Yeah, we're further away from a peace deal now than when he took office, because, you know, he's already given away every bargaining chip we had. He's threatening them with like more sanctions. I watched Russia's primetime news that day when he announced that, oh, you know, this was like 3 days ago, we're going to hit Russia with more sanctions if they don't agree to this ceasefire.
Right.
And they were laughing at Trump on Russian media. Prime time. They were laughing at him. They're like, sanctions? We don't sell anything to the U.S. You've sanctioned us on everything. The Biden administration, there's nothing left to sanction. So, I mean, the Russians know, they're smart enough to know, like, this guy's full of shit. Unfortunately, half of our country isn't smart enough to figure it out, but the Russians know he's full of crap. So, you know, what do? They said, you know, repeatedly over and over and over during the campaign said, I will have this over the first day I take office. I know exactly what I need to say to Putin. I'm going to get him in a room. I'm going to have a conversation, and this is going to be over. That's what he said 100 times during the campaign. That never happened. Okay. It's still going on. So what do we have now? We have Rubio and NSA Walz going over in Saudi Arabia, meeting with the Ukraine delegation. Ukraine says, well, of course we agree to a ceasefire. We would have agreed to a ceasefire the first day. We would agree to a ceasefire any day. Yes, of course. So then Rubio comes out like Neville Chamberlain in like 1938 and peace in our time, you know, waving a piece of paper that Hitler signed promising, not to invade Poland, and it's like, oh, peace in our time, peace in our time. They come out, and Rubio, you could see it on his face. You can hear it in his voice. He knows that this is going nowhere. So he comes out and he's like, well, we've gotten Ukraine to agree to a ceasefire. Now we just have to get Putin to agree to it. Yeah. And that's kind of the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, that is a huge problem. Speaking of problems, we've never had a president like this in so many different ways, but using the office in the White House to sell cars and hawk cars. What do you make of the fact Donald Trump is out there yesterday while veterans are losing their jobs across the country and inflation's up, gas prices are up, and the country's on fire, for lack of a better term? You have Donald Trump looking like the buffoon that he is with Elon Musk, trying to sell Teslas and help the stock that has plunged over the last couple of days. What do you make of that yesterday and that car infomercial, right? Because that's really what it was.
Well, obviously it's disgusting that he's using the White House to sell products for his businesses and Musk's businesses. Look, he posts stuff about his crypto during the workday. Like he's in the Oval Office. We know he's in there. And it's like Tuesday at 10:30 and he's posting crypto ads on True Social. So he's obviously turned the White House into the home shopping network. But, the thing about this is that Musk, of course, lies about everything. And the reality is that Musk's stock is tanking for two reasons. Number one, he's never there. The major stockholders are all complaining. Even Dave Portnoy, the Barstool Sports guy who loves Musk, posted yesterday, like, when the hell I'm losing my ass on these Tesla shares. When is Musk going to get back to work? So for one thing, he's never around, and I don't know, that might be better for the company. I don't know. But the bottom line is he's not anywhere around. His interest right now is like 90% Doge, 10% SpaceX, 0% Tesla. And that's been that way for about a year now. Yeah. So that's number one. But number two is he's so toxic all around the world after what he said about the Polish prime minister. Yeah. He's called him a small man. You can't sell a Tesla in Poland now. After he backed the AfD Nazi party in Germany, he can't sell Teslas in Germany. France, he can't sell them. His sales across Europe are down 50%. His sales in China are down almost 50%. And his sales in the United States are down. And so the excuse that they're using now for this is they're claiming that, it's Democrats backed by George Soros who are like attacking dealerships because there's a handful of protests or maybe, 2 or 3 Teslas that have been graffitied or something. And they're saying that, there's this reign of terror by Democrats. And that's the reason why the stock is down. That is not the reason why the stock is down. The stock is down because people all over the world hate Elon Musk and don't want to buy his cars anymore.
That's very true. I agree with you. If you're just joining us, Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch joining us. Ron, I want to get your thoughts on Gavin Newsom. Starting with Charlie Kirk, and I know he's got Steve Bannon on his podcast. My opinion, Ron, is as follows. And I had Enrique Tarrio on my show yesterday for 45 minutes, and a lot of people were angry at me. Why would you give that guy a platform? I'm not angry at Gavin Newsom for having these guys on his show. What I'm angry at Gavin Newsom for is not putting enough pushback on the Charlie Kirk interview, for example. I don't think he pushed back enough. What are your thoughts on this, getting these figures on his podcast? Why do you think he's doing it? I think I know why he's doing it. He's trying to become a centrist and appeal to some others. But do you think that's a fair criticism? And what are your thoughts on these interviews?
This is becoming a very serious controversy because this wasn't a one-off. If it was a one-off with Kirk, I think that wouldn't have been that big a deal. But this appears to be like his agenda. Is because he's had Bannon on. He had Michael Savage on, who's a piece of garbage.
Awful person.
Right winger. So, so 3 of his first 5 guests are far right loons. And I get, like, first of all, you bring people on to fight with them. So that's different. That's not what Newsom's doing. Right. That's not what Newsom's doing. Newsom is kissing their ass. He's laughing it up with them. He's smiling. He's taking photos with them. He's talking about what they have in common. I heard some clips from the Steve Bannon show, which I think is being released like later today, but I heard some of the preview stuff, and it's It's sickening. Like, so, and Adam Kinzinger's been out there rampaging. He did a TikTok, he did a Substack, he's done social media posts. He's furious because what Kinzinger makes the point is like, look, there's been a lot of us that have been Gavin's been in California, doing his thing in California. There's been a lot of us that have been in the trenches fighting and battling Charlie Kirk, Steve Bannon, Michael Savage, these guys specifically. I've had run-ins with all three of those guys personally, myself. They've come after me, I go after them. And we're fighting their lies and their disinformation and their racism, and we're calling them out, and we're showing how they systematically lie. So to see like the guy who's our presumptive front runner for president laughing and joking with these guys and, you know, having a good old time on his podcast, no, we don't get it. And we take it very seriously and we take it very personally. And I'll tell you, I was all in on Newsom like a month ago. If Mark Kelly runs, that's my guy now. I want Mark Kelly to run. I think Mark Kelly is a better, more authentic, real person than Gavin Newsom.
And Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've been on this show before where you've said, you know, if Gavin runs, you were all in, and you said you would work in his administration, and you would do everything you could. So now you're saying that that's you're done.
After the Kirk thing, I was like, first of all, when he announced Kirk, I said, I want to see if he's going to call him out, because his promo for his podcast says, I'm going to bring on right wingers and call out their lies. Okay, good. Let's see it. I didn't see any calling out with Kirk. Then I just watched some clips from Bannon. Again, I see him being not only being very chummy, but criticizing Democrats with them, going along with their criticisms of Democrats. Yeah. Now, I criticize Democrats too, but I'm not going to criticize Democrats to Steve Bannon or to Charlie Kirk. I'm going to do it with other Democrats. Right. I'm not going to do it with those guys because those guys are looking to destroy us.
Ron, I'm with you on that 100%. I echoed what you said on this show for the last several days. Now, I want to ask you another question, though, speaking of Democrats. The 10 Democrats that decided to censure Green, Jared Moskowitz being one of them, he's somebody that I've been in his corner. I like Jared Moskowitz. I'm not supporting him anymore. And if the argument is, well, if we don't like what they're doing on the right, we also have to call out our own on the left. I think they're cowards and they have no backbone, what they did with Green. I'm curious to get your thoughts on like a Jared Moskowitz and the other 9 Democrats that voted to censure Mr. Green.
Interesting. You know, there's a lot of people off Moskowitz because of that. You're right. You're definitely not alone. I have a different feeling about that only for one reason, because of Al Green himself, because I think Al Green loved being censored. And so, you know, I think that Al was like, you know, back when I was in the Marines, we used to go out to bars a lot, and you'd have a bunch of guys go together in a group, you know, and you always had those couple guys in your group who you knew like they're only going out tonight to get in a fight. They're looking to fight someone, and you kind of like, let's not, you know, I remember saying this, like, not tonight, guys. Come on, just chill out. Let's just have fun. Don't get in a fight tonight, you know, but they always were. As soon as they walk in a club, they're looking for somebody to fight. To me, that was Al Green. You know, that was Al Green at that speech. He walked in there and he's like, I'm getting thrown out. Like I'm getting tossed, and I'm going to make a show of getting tossed. And so he wanted that to happen. And,
I agree.
And then when the censor thing came out, he posted on social media that morning, hey, I'm being censored at 10 a.m. Everybody check it out. So I mean,
Ron,
he was owning it.
I agree, Ron, but can we both be right? Like, I agree with you. Yeah. I agree with you 100%. That was, I got you. But say, so Ron, it's interesting. I said this on the Piers Morgan show last week. I said, Democrats would have been better off either not showing up or all leaving at the same time.
Yeah, that was the move.
I thought they looked a little ridiculous, sitting in their chair, slumped over with those weird bingo signs or whatever the hell you would call those. I thought they looked a little ridiculous. I'm curious to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and this dovetails into what's happening with the Senate today.
Yeah,
which is leadership issues. You know, they all had a meeting about how they were going to handle Trump's speech. They had a caucus, and they were divided, just as Senate Democrats are divided over the CR. The House was divided over how to handle Trump's speech. And everybody wanted to go their own way. They couldn't get a consensus on how to do this. And those were the options. The option was, we're all going to boycott.
Right.
We're going to go and we're going to cause a scene. We're going to have signs and noisemakers. We're going to get thrown out, or, we're just going to sit there silently, or we're going to wait until Trump comes in, gets to the podium, and then when all the TV cameras are on him, then we're going to get up and silently walk out. And I thought that was the move right there.
Yep.
Was to all show up, wait until Trump, and that would have been so dramatic. But instead you had a handful of people who decided to boycott, a handful of people who decided to make a scene, a handful of people who decided to bring signs. So you had all these different mixed messages being thrown out there, and it just looked like we were in disarray.
Ron, to me, it's a microcosm of where the Democrat Party is today. They're disorganized. They're not all on the same page. You have some of them that show courage and fortitude. You have others that are cowards, that are spineless. I think what took place there is a simple explanation, partly in why they lost this election in 2024. They're not on the same page. The messaging is inconsistent, and they proved that last week.
Yep. And unfortunately, we're about to see it again today with the Senate, because what's happening is Chuck Schumer got outmaneuvered by Mike Johnson. And that's hard to do because Mike Johnson is a shit strategist. He's a dope. He's not very bright. He's got some people around him who are a little bit better than him, but Schumer is about as bad as it gets when it comes to strategy. And so what did Johnson do? So he says, we're going to pass a clean CR. Clean CR means like just continuing the budget that is in existence. But then he added two little poison pills to the CR. And they are, number one is authorizing Trump to do tariffs unilaterally without seeking congressional approval. That was added to the CR that the House just passed yesterday.
Unbelievable.
Number two is to allow Elon Musk to unilaterally make Doge cuts to the existing budget. So those are two things that are in there that House Democrats justifiably objected to. They did not like those two things, and they said that's why we're not voting against it. But you see how Johnson outmaneuvered them is he waited and waited until yesterday morning, and then he announced, right after we do this vote, I'm adjourning and sending everyone home. And so you have the vote early in the week, and then the government shuts down Friday. Then you send everyone home. What that means is that if Senate Democrats filibuster, which they can do, okay, they need 7 Democrats to vote for this CR. They need 7. So if all Democrats are united, or if they only get 4 or 5, basically that forces Johnson to scramble and bring the House back, which he's not going to do, or the government's going to shut down and we have a big chaos next week, right? So they're all huddled today, not knowing what to do. But Johnson put him in this box because now it's going to look like they caused the shutdown, not Republicans, by adding these. See, if Schumer was out there the last week saying there are these 2 poison pills in the CR, this is why we can't support it. We don't want the government to shut down. But Johnson needs to take these 2 things out of the bill or we're going to filibuster. Then I think they could have gotten some public support in case we had a showdown. Yeah. But Schumer didn't do that. Schumer was silent. No one from the Senate did that. People in the House were doing that, but the Senate said nothing. Schumer was booked to interview with us, and he knew that was one of the questions that we were going to ask him, and he canceled the interview. Oh. He canceled the interview. So this is where we're at. So what's going to happen here now? And by the way, no one has prepped the base for this betrayal. And that's the other problem you're going to have. See, if you know you're going to do something to infuriate your base, you get to the influencers, you get to the podcasters, and you help them explain to the base why you did what you did, the strategy behind it. But they didn't do that because they're arrogant and they're old and they don't recognize new media. And so what they're going to do is they're just going to roll out tomorrow and they're just going to vote for this thing. And 7 or 8 Democrats are going to be hung out to dry because the whole base is going to be screaming and yelling at them. Why did you go along with this? And, they're going to be trying to explain it then, but it's too late.
And Chuck Schumer canceling a podcast interview with the most popular podcast on the planet. That's partially why Kamala Harris lost. That's partially why Donald Trump is in office. And it's absurd, ridiculous. And as I've said before, and I say again, Schumer needs to go. The Democrats need new leadership, younger leadership, and the types of people that will not cancel on Midas Touch doing a podcast. That is embarrassing. Ron, I would assume that is the article that you're working on right now. Is that a fair assumption?
No.
No,
Man. The guys don't want to burn bridges, there. So we're going to pick our battles on that. I mean, we're disappointed.
Yeah.
But, look, these Democrats are here. Let me tell you who's going to vote for it. It's going to be seven or eight senators who are in swing states, in Arizona's, Nevada's, New Hampshire,
sure.
Georgia. Ossoff will probably vote for it, who are up for re-election. Those are the ones who are going to vote for it. And then all the other Democrats in the safe states are all going to vote against it. And it's just like the typical Schumer games. That's the game that he plays, and so it's disheartening, the lot of the old guard just need to go. And I'm not being ageist here, but they need to go. And, I pointed out, Shaheen from New Hampshire announced that she wasn't running, and she's not one of the problems. She's good, but, she's 79 next year.
Right.
So what are you going to run for another 6-year term? I give her credit for no, I'm not going to be here till I'm 85. And there's a congressman there, Pappas, who's 47 years old, who's fantastic, who wants to run for that seat. That's what needs to happen in places around the country, including New York, where Dan Goldman wants to run for Chuck Schumer's seat and needs him to retire.
Yeah, Goldman would be fantastic, by the way. Really smart, bright man, and he's not 105 years old, and he's not married to Caroline Leavitt. So, Ron, always a pleasure, my friend. The hardest working man in the business, and one of my favorite follows. You guys are great at Midas Touch, and there's a reason why you're beating Joe Rogan. Always appreciate the time, my friend. We'll let you get back to work. We'll catch up with you next week, and always a pleasure, Ron. Thank you.
All right, man. See you later.
Appreciate it. That's Ron Filipkowski, everybody. I mean that. He's one of the best in the business, and I say that every single time he joins me. So smart, so good at what he does, and I highly recommend you read his articles and you subscribe. The man is just fantastic. So, while the world is on fire, while this country is on fire, while veterans are losing their jobs throughout the country, while inflation is up, while the stock market is tumbled, while all this stuff is going on, Donald Trump was trying to sell Teslas yesterday, looking like a used car salesman in front of the White House. This is a clip of Donald Trump yesterday going and rambling on about how he can't drive a vehicle, which is weird because Joe Biden was driving vehicles when he was president. This is Donald Trump ranting and raving about Teslas and talking about how he's not allowed to drive a Tesla, which is very strange. It was like a Tesla car infomercial with moron Elania standing right beside him. Have a listen to this.
Hello, President Trump. Are you looking to buy or lease today?
Well, I'm going to buy. And I'm going to buy because, number one, it's a great product, as good as it gets. And number two, because this man has devoted his energy and his life to doing this. I think he's been treated very unfairly by a very small group of people. And I just want people to know that you can't be penalized for being a patriot. And he's a great patriot. And he's also done an incredible job with Tesla. And I mean, nobody else. It's a car company started up in the last 30 years that's been successful. I don't think so. And not only successful, but super successful. And because he's able to find billions and billions and billions of dollars of fraud and waste and all of the things. I mean, our country's going to be very strong very soon because of a lot of the things that he's done and a lot of the things that I'm doing. And there's no better team, but there's no better for what we're doing. There's nobody like this, and he shouldn't be penalized. And when I watched the other day, I said, I can't believe it. It should be the opposite. People should be going wild, and they love the product, but because he's finding all sorts of terrible things that have taken place against our country, they want to penalize him in an economic sense. And I just think that's very unfair. So I just wanted to make a statement. I'm going to buy one. Now, here's the bad news. I'm not allowed to drive because I haven't driven a car in a long time, and I love to drive cars. But I'm going to have it at the White House, and I'm going to let my staff use it. I'm going to let people at the place use it. And they all are all excited about that. I'm not allowed to use it. Can you believe it? One of my great things in life is that I can, I like to drive cars, but I'm not allowed to.
Okay, so there's a lot to dissect there. First of all, he is allowed to drive cars. That's a lie. You saw how many times Joe Biden was driving vehicles and showing off a little bit. So that's a lie. He is allowed to drive cars. He just has lived that lifestyle where he's had drivers his entire life because he's lived his entire life, with a silver spoon in his mouth, sitting on gold toilets. Number one. Number two, Elon Musk is not a patriot. Keep in mind, this is the same guy who called violent insurrectionists on January 6th hostages and patriots. Elon Musk is not a patriot. He's a terrible father. He's a swindler. I don't care how great of a businessman people claim he is. He's in this for himself. This wasn't about the veterans. This wasn't about anybody else but himself. Becky in the YouTube super chat said, Trump is such a liar. We are witnessing a corporate takeover. I agree with you, Becky. Thank you for your donation. So Elon Musk is not a patriot. Now, this is Donald Trump continuing on, again, calling Elon Musk a patriot. And he says that, quote, we should cherish him. Have a listen to this.
I'm just telling people, this man is a great patriot, and you should cherish him. You should cherish him. I have a little statement. We have to take care of our high IQ people because we don't have too many of them.
So, Mr. President,
and we got to take care of them.
And as you guys look at the social...
Yeah, we have to take care of our high IQ people. Our high IQ people. Like all the high IQ people that you put in your cabinet. Pete Hegseth, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., to name a few. Kash Patel. Yeah, these are very high IQ people. Donald Trump likes to use the term high IQ all the time. But yet he hires people that have low IQs, and he hires bigots, racists, and womanizers. Yes, I do think Elon Musk is one of those people. This is the point in the press conference where they ask Elon Musk, are you planning to remain the CEO of Tesla? Because as you know, the Tesla stocks have plummeted. Have a listen to his response, and he didn't sound very enthusiastic.
Elon, are you planning to remain CEO of Tesla while working with President Trump? Is there any thinking on your future at the company? As we're talking about Tesla, I'm wondering what your thinking is with leading the company going forward.
Yeah. I'm CEO of Tesla, and
We should.
yeah. Any more plans of additional?
Yeah. I give Elon Musk like another 6 months. There are a lot of people, investors, and people that are very upset that he's not putting much into the stocks of the companies that he owns. And yesterday was all about one thing. And the last cut that I'm going to play for you, we're going to discuss this. This is a very good question that a reporter asked. Do you think buying a Tesla will boost Tesla and stock? Speaking to Donald Trump. Have a listen to this exchange.
This gets downloaded as well. You can thump your music.
You can do it. I just looked at it. I looked at that dashboard. You can do anything.
You buying a Tesla will boost Tesla sales and boost
Well, I
their
hope
stock?
it does. Look.
Was that your goal?
I care
by doing
about
this?
one thing. When somebody's a great patriot, they shouldn't be hurt. He's a great patriot. He didn't know me from Adam until we met a little bit when I was in my first term, but he came out, he endorsed me very strongly.
Yeah, Donald Trump cares about one thing, he says. I agree. Money. That's it. Donald Trump doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about me. He doesn't care about middle America. He doesn't care about the people that voted for him unless he's Elon Musk, who donated $300 to $400 million to his campaign. That was the support that Donald Trump was talking about. So in return, Donald Trump does a free car infomercial for him in front of the White House. Can you imagine if Joe Biden did something like this with George Soros and used the White House and the presidency to boost George Soros and one of his companies? Can you imagine what Republicans would be saying? Because the idiots on CNN like Scott Jennings and others, oh, what's the big deal? It's an American company. What's the problem? The problem is you're the president of the United States and you're just trying to boost the stock of somebody who donated hundreds of millions of dollars to your campaign. That's the problem. You're using the White House and the presidency to make money for your closest tech billionaire friends. That's the issue that I have. And it was a complete embarrassment. So before we get to the phone calls, and I will be taking phone calls here in a little bit, we understand that X was a part of a cyber attack, and we know that, Elon Musk blamed Ukraine for the cyber attack, and we know Ukraine wasn't responsible for it. But one of America's biggest banks has just suffered a security blunder. And I would imagine some of you have Bank of America accounts. So if you have a Bank of America account, there is a possibility that your social security number and other private information of an unknown number of customers were exposed. Bank of America has informed their clients that their names, account details, addresses, and even contact information, date of birth, social security number, you name it, were exposed when documents are left outside in an unsealed container. I have no idea how that blunder even happens in the first place. It's so embarrassing. So keep in mind that Bank of America is a third-party data destruction vendor. And this is what bank officials are saying. They're saying the company was hired to pick up documents from an unnamed financial center dating back to December 30th of 2024 and take them to be shredded for security purposes. And this is really concerning here. Apparently, some of the documents were found outside of the secure containers on the exterior of the financial center. I mean, I don't even know. This is insane, right? This isn't some new small bank that doesn't know how to deal with these types of issues. This is Bank of America. They've been around for a very long time. And Bank of America, to this day, this was what drives me nuts, to this day, they still haven't revealed how many customers have been affected by the breach. How is that possible? This happened back in December. So as of January, the last update, Bank of America was providing financial services for 69 million U.S. consumers and small businesses. And in a statement, the bank noted that customers could contact their state attorney general for more information. Notice how they don't want to provide the information. They want to inconvenience their customers, and they want them to go out of their way. Speak to the attorney general. They'll handle it. And, there's a large list that included Massachusetts, New York, Washington, D.C., and Oregon, just for starters. Keep in mind that they handle $4.2 trillion in client balances across their entire wealth management operations. And I spoke about the X data breach the other day. And putting Elon Musk to the side for a moment, this is serious stuff that we're talking about here. This is our own personal information that may have been compromised. This stuff can't happen. It just can't happen. And I think about this stuff every single day, whether it be my social security number, whether it be my personal information. This is private information that we don't want in the hands of somebody that can take advantage of it. And it appears as though Bank of America made a big mistake. Now, I don't know if they're going to be sued. I don't know if some of the clients and their identity was stolen. I don't know what the future holds for Bank of America, but this is completely unacceptable, and I think we all could agree. This can't happen. It can't happen. It can't happen anywhere, especially the United States of America. So this leads me to a very important segue to the sponsor of this show, and I want to thank Aura. Perhaps Bank of America isn't using Aura. Maybe they should. But Aura is a smart and simple way to stay safe online and to protect your family from fraud, maybe even a Bank of America type. I've just been talking about how digital safety is so important. And obviously you don't want big companies like Bank of America with maybe poor security to be hacked. So the good news is that Aura does all the hard work for you. They'll protect you from fraud and online threats. I receive those all the time. Here's the best part about this. Maybe some Bank of America executives are listening to the sponsor Aura, but if you're a listener of PTL and you look at the link on the bottom of the screen, which is aura.com/PTL, just if you're a listener of the show and use that link, you're going to get a 2-week trial absolutely free, no strings attached, no risk. So check them out, aura.com, sponsor of the show, /PTL. Get your 2-week free trial. I hope some executives at Bank of America are listening because it might have helped prevent what has taken place there. And you'll be surprised at what they can find. Please support our sponsors, which is Aura. And I promise you, you will certainly not be disappointed. All right, here's what we are going to do. We're going to reset. We're going to take a break. If you're just joining us, you missed a lot. We had Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch on the program. We talked a little bit about the Ireland Prime Minister meeting with Donald Trump. Once again, Donald Trump embarrassing us on the world stage. He called Chuck Schumer a Palestinian. Chuck Schumer's a Jewish man. He said he wasn't Jewish. He was Palestinian, almost like a slur towards the Palestinian people. I'd love to get a Palestinian to call into the show and tell me what you think about that. He said a lot of other ridiculous things, and he had no real response to ending the war in Ukraine. So we're talking a little bit about that. We're also talking about the car infomercial where Donald Trump was in front of the White House yesterday with Elon Musk. Complete embarrassment. So I get a lot of people who say, how could I get more involved in the PTL radio show and be a part of the PTL family? Go to pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website is pushingthelimits.live. You go on there, you can make donations, $5, $10, $20 a month. You can also make purchases. You see the link right there on the bottom. You can also make purchases, shirts, T-shirts, beanies, mugs, you name it. We sell it on there, and I like to show this one off because I use it every day. There it is with the Pushing the Limits logo right on there. Pretty cool. So check it out, pushingthelimits.live. We are also in the YouTube Super Chat where I'm going to start reading YouTube comments and questions live on the air when we come back. It is the most interactive show around. Here's why. We're taking your calls next. It's your chance to chime in whether you're a Trump supporter or not. Now's your chance to do so. So give us a call at 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the conversation, that number is 702-221-7283. That's the number to call. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this. You are listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and food. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercials, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at radioyou101.com.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits. Please support our sponsors, which include the official gaming bar of the PTL radio show. It's Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. With the Pass the Puck contest, you could win up to $500 in free slot play during a Vegas Golden Knights game. Also on Mondays, if you earn 1,500 points, you're going to earn $100 in free slot play, which will be loaded to your card to use the following day. Check them out, Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Programming note for you, we got some big guests tomorrow. Ed Krasentine from the Krasentine Brothers is going to be joining us, and he's going to be talking about a different type of brothers, which are the Tate brothers. He's been covering this story. Was it Donald Trump and his administration that allowed the Tate brothers back in the United States? Well, I have a good feeling Ed is going to give us the answer to that tomorrow. And do you remember the story of a third guy that allegedly tried to assassinate Donald Trump? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was in California. I might be wrong on that one. That guy is now suing the police department for claiming that that was the case. He's going to be joining us in studio tomorrow. Now, the interesting thing about this guy is he's a Trump supporter, but his life was turned upside down because he was accused of an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. It's a crazy story. So he's going to be joining us in studio tomorrow. You're not going to want to miss that one. All right, number to call, 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to William. William is calling all the way from Vegas. My locals, I love them. William, what's going on?
Just checking in. I enjoy your show.
Thank you.
I am a Republican who voted for Donald Trump.
Okay.
And I was just wondering, politics to me nowadays is like a marriage where it's 50-50. And is there any way do you think the Republicans and Democrats will ever agree on anything again in the near future?
Not if Donald Trump is president of the United States, because he's the guy who has nicknames against people he disagrees with. What you need somebody in office like a Bill Clinton. And while I didn't like Bill Clinton personally, he left his office with a surplus, and he was probably the best president of my lifetime as far as being and a lot of Republicans would agree with me, by the way, as far as working with the other side. My definition of he's the divider in chief, but that's the best. Now let me ask you a question, sir, if I may. And listen, I appreciate you calling in. You voted for Trump. I'm not here to attack you for that, while we might disagree. What is it that, in your opinion, why did you vote for Donald Trump, if you don't mind me asking, William?
If you want to know the truth,
yep.
My mom voted her last time a week before she died for Donald Trump.
Okay.
So I kind of vote partially because my mom voted for him. And the other thing is, being a CPA, I think the country financially needs help. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
Well, let me respond to that, but let me say the most important thing. I'm sorry for the loss of your mother. I'm sorry to hear that, William.
She had a great life.
Good. I'm glad to hear that, but I'm sorry for your loss. Regardless of who your mom voted for or not, you're talking about now the economy. So Donald Trump put us $8.2 trillion in debt in his first administration. We look at the first 7 weeks of this administration, biggest tax breaks for the top 1%. Egg prices are up. Inflation is up. Groceries are up. Gas prices are up throughout the country. People are losing their jobs. Their 401ks are going down the toilet. So I guess my question to you is, what made you, your mother aside for a moment, with respect, what made you think that Donald Trump was going to help middle-class Americans and help the economy when you saw what he did in his first administration? I guess that's my question.
Okay. The middle class, from doing income taxes for 40 years, I have a good variety of people I've dealt with, friends and otherwise.
Yep.
And the middle class right now, in my opinion only, everybody in this country, and grew up in Westlake Village, California, does not have it easy anymore financially.
And who do you blame? And who do you blame? And what do you assert that to? Like, who do you blame for that? You blame Joe Biden for that?
I would never blame him for anything, even though I'm a Republican.
Okay.
Because I don't think that he was in charge.
Okay, so William, I don't know what that means, but here's what I would ask you. Let's get specific, if that's okay, my friend. What are the policies under Donald Trump that you said to yourself, I love that policy? And what was it about Kamala Harris that you said, I hate that policy? Just one example. We don't have to go through like 20 of them. But is that fair? Give me one of each where you say, I like that policy, I hate that one. Is that fair?
Perfect.
Okay, good.
Kamala Harris, I don't believe, and this is my opinion again, is a financial person.
Okay, but hold on, William. That's your opinion, and you're entitled to it, even though I disagree with you. But give me a policy under Kamala Harris that would lead you to believe that, something she campaigned on that would lead you to believe she doesn't know what she's doing financially.
Okay, she might not have campaigned on it, but the border has cost a lot of money, and I don't know, you don't have to agree with me, but I think the rise in population from the 50s when I was born is partially responsible for everything because there's so many more people to control.
Okay, I understand.
Follow the rules.
William, I understand you want to talk about the border, but that's a Republican and Democrat problem. And by the way,
no, financial, you said.
Okay, I understand that, but financial, and now you're talking about the border, and you're making the case, I guess, that illegals that cross the border are killing our economy. Meanwhile, if you care about the economy, which I believe you're being sincere when you say you care about the economy, how could you think that 25% tariffs are going to help the American economy when American consumers like you and me are going to be bearing the brunt of it? Why would you think that deporting a bunch of undocumented immigrants, many of these people are nonviolent criminals that pay taxes, that have been here for decades, that are doing the jobs that most Americans don't want to do? If you claim you care about the economy, and I believe you're being sincere when you say that, why would you support a guy who's implementing these 25% tariffs and no economist, even Republicans, are saying this is a bad idea? I just want to hear a policy from you on Kamala, which I haven't heard yet. But on the contrary, why would you support a guy who's tanking our economy right now?
Okay, I think there can be short-term pain for long-term gain. Do you agree with that in general?
So in some cases, I agree with you. But when you talk about 25% tariffs, this is long-term pain. When you talk about the $8.2 trillion that Donald Trump put us in when he was president, that's long-term pain. We still haven't recovered from that. So while I agree that, yes, in some instances there's going to be short-term pain, I don't see that happening with what he's doing with Canada, with Mexico, burning bridges with our allies. I just think it's not going to be short-term. I think it's going to be long-term. We already know that a lot of Americans are under a lot of pain right now. And if we're talking about economic growth, look at the infrastructure bill that Joe Biden put in place. Look at the bipartisan infrastructure bill. Look at unemployment numbers, the lowest they were in 50 years. Look at the wage gap. And I don't know. So, okay, let's go back to my original question, because I know you said a concern of yours is the border. Can you give me a specific policy that you like under Trump and a policy under Kamala Harris that you dislike? Because I think we went a little in the weeds there. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, okay. The one thing that I like about Trump is to get the debt down. And I don't think anybody can disagree with that.
So getting the
interest payment.
But hold on. But sir, I understand you want to, quote, get the debt down. We all want the debt to be down. I want to know a policy that he has implemented that you think will, quote, get the debt down. Because if you care about debt, Republicans are the ones that put us 4 times more in debt than Democrats when they're presidents. You could look that up if you don't believe me. Trump got us $8.2 trillion in debt. So what policy has Donald Trump implemented that you would say, boy, he's really going to get that debt down?
Right. Now, I can't argue with you on the tariffs because I don't know how they work and what the long-term effect is.
Understood.
I'll be honest.
Okay, understood. So give me a policy that you think would lead you to believe that the man who got us $8.2 trillion in debt and got us more in debt than virtually any other living president, but you said to yourself, this is the guy that's going to get us out of debt. What was it that made you feel that way? What policy?
That he's willing to do the toughest thing in the world, which is to fire people and reduce spending.
And you think
it's hard. Do you agree it's hard to fire somebody?
Not if you're Donald Trump, because he brags about it and gloats about it. But so you think with all the debt that we are in right now, right? The $6 trillion plus in debt we're in, you think saving $10, $15, $20 million and firing a bunch of veterans and those who work for the government, who, by the way, I've interviewed some of these people who haven't done anything wrong. That's your answer to getting us out of debt? $7 trillion in debt, and you think firing some government workers is your 80,000 employees? You think that's the answer?
I think the answer could only be done in the long run.
So that's it. $7 trillion in debt. And the reason why you voted for him from an economic perspective is you like Doge and you like the firings of innocent people that haven't done anything wrong. Some of them government workers, most of them government workers and people that serve this country. And you think that's the key that's going to get us $7 trillion. That's not even 0.5%. If they fired every government worker, it wouldn't even be 0.5% of the debt that we're in now. That's why I'm confused. Help me understand.
Right now, my dad worked on the electron microscope for the VA for 30 years, so I know how bad the VA has been run personally.
Okay, I understand that, and God bless your father,
veteran,
but yeah.
No veteran, I will agree with you, no veteran should ever be fired after serving this country from a government job unless there's a reason.
And guess what?
Ever.
Donald Trump, I agree with you. Guess what? Donald Trump isn't doing that. I've spoken to veterans and I've spoken to people across the country who've called into this show who have lost their jobs, who have never been written up, who have never done anything wrong, and they have lost their jobs. So Trump is doing what you don't want him to do. Okay, so let's put that off to the side. If Donald Trump fired 80,000 people today, it wouldn't even be a sliver of the debt that we're in. Give me a policy under Kamala Harris that you said, I cannot vote for this woman because I hate this policy.
I'm not sure what she did as vice president, and I won't lie to you.
So you can't name any policies that Kamala was running on, and the one policy with respect you like under Donald Trump, even though you just admitted that you disagree with some of the firings, is firing a bunch of government workers to get us out of debt. And when I ask you with respect, William, because I do appreciate you calling in, what policies under Kamala Harris you didn't like? What was it about Kamala Harris you didn't like? You can't name me anything?
Well, here's what I'll tell you. To reduce fraud and waste, I personally knew from my grandfather that when they did government contracts, when the lumber, he did trusses, the government was so stupid. This is in the 20s and 30s. They never took the
okay, but William, I hear you. William, I hear you.
They
don't
know how to run a business.
William,
the government is incompetent.
And Donald Trump is the guy that knows how to run a business when so many of his casinos filed for bankruptcy and his Trump Meat and Trump University and Trump Water and all the businesses that filed for bankruptcy. But you just mentioned a very key word, fraud. Last I checked in the United States of America, fraud is illegal. Can you name me one person that the Trump administration has called out and DOJ has called out for fraud that they have referred to prosecutors? Can you name me one person where they've showed evidence of fraud? Because fraud is a crime in the United States of America. Who's committing the fraud? Who have they announced?
Right. I don't think there's been time to undercover the fraud. Normally, when that happens, it's hidden pretty well.
Wait a second. Donald Trump has said they've discovered, quote, hundreds of billions of dollars in fraud. So if you're making the case that they haven't had enough time, then why has Donald Trump said time and time again in the last 2 months, we've recovered hundreds of billions of dollars in fraud? That's his statement, sir. They haven't shown any evidence of that.
Right. No, you're right. And he is a showman, but he...
A showman?
General, he does this for show.
A show. Okay, so you're saying it's okay for him to lie because he's a showman.
I don't know if he lies because I can't tell you.
You don't know if he lies. Okay, who won the 2020 election? If you don't know if he lies, who won the 2020 election?
2020 Biden.
Okay, Donald Trump to this day hasn't conceded. Donald Trump to this day hasn't conceded, and he still says the Democrats cheated and he won. Is that just being a showman, or is he lying?
Truthfully, it's just a bunch of bullshit from a politician, and I apologize for the word.
That's okay, but in other words, he's lying. Okay, so let me go back to what we said earlier, William, and I appreciate the conversation. I really do.
No, and I enjoy your show.
Thank you. William, I appreciate you.
Republican.
William, here's my issue. I will let you ask a question. Let me just finish what I was about to say, and then I will allow you to ask, William. No problem. Here's my issue with this. You seem like a really nice guy, William. I like you. I really do. We could have a good civil conversation, and I appreciate you. My issue with this conversation, William, or problem, I guess you could say, is that the one policy you like is a bunch of workers for the government being fired when we know a lot of these workers didn't do anything wrong, and then you agree that that's wrong, that's what he's doing. And then the one, and I ask you with respect, can you name me one policy under Kamala Harris? It could have been a $25,000 down payment on a home. It could have been lowering the percentage of taxes for middle Americans that make under $400,000 a year. It could have been maternity leave. It could have been the right for a woman to choose. There's so many, the right to health care, whatever the case is. She had a list of policies. And you can't name me one thing about her policy-wise that you didn't like. It's hard for me to understand that, William. Help me understand.
Right. The only reason I will say I can't name any of them because she didn't win and get a chance to do what she wanted.
She didn't, but she campaigned on policy. She campaigned on a lot of the things she did want to do. So you're saying you didn't. So you're saying you didn't vote for her because she's never been president before? Did you vote for Trump in 2016?
Yeah.
Okay. What did Trump do policy-wise before he was president? Did he implement anything?
I'll be honest with you. Donald Trump uses the law to the very edge for his benefit.
Okay, I agree with you, William, but you just said you didn't vote for Kamala because she didn't implement any policy. You voted for Donald Trump in 2016. What policies did Donald Trump implement before running for president in 2016?
Nothing but run companies and live his life.
He ran companies. Okay. He ran companies, and he ran some of those companies into the ground. I would also say that Kamala Harris was a duly elected attorney general, a senator, and a vice president. Isn't that important?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can put that off to the side.
She really didn't have enough time to run properly. You agree with that?
I agree that she didn't have enough time. I agree with you there 100%, William. But I'm just shocked that you can't name one thing about her that you didn't like and why you didn't vote for her. And then when I ask you why you voted for Trump, the one top issue that you talk about is you seem to be in favor of the firings. And then when I say, well, wait a second, a lot of these people have been fired with no cause. We have proof of that. A lot of these people were actually getting awards for what they're doing. You agree with me on that. That was wrong. So I'm just... Okay, go ahead and ask your question, William. With respect, I gave you the opportunity. I promised I would allow you to do that. So go ahead.
If I have to participate in this, could you have a positivity segment every day?
A positivity segment every day.
With something for the future that we could do to make things better.
Well, the day that Donald Trump is put behind bars, I'll do a 2-hour positivity segment for you. Is that fair?
Okay, and nobody will ever admit that Biden and Trump are angels that I know.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Going to that theory, was Joe Biden ever found liable for sexual abuse? Has Joe Biden ever been convicted or charged with a felony? Does Joe Biden have 3 kids or 5 kids with 3 different women? Did Joe Biden ever talk about grabbing women by the genitals? Has Joe Biden ever attacked a POW, said I don't respect him because he was captured? Has he ever called Mexicans rapists? Has Joe Biden ever found glee in deporting people and bragged about it? Has Joe Biden ever sold vehicles in front of the White House and hired a tech billionaire who donated $300 to $400 million for his campaign? Did Joe Biden ever do any of that stuff? Because I think that's a very unfair analogy that you're trying to make. I think Joe Biden's a decent man, and I think Donald Trump is an adjudicated rapist and a piece of human garbage. I just don't think the two are fair. I agree.
I'm not agreeing with you, but I'm just saying that.
What are you not agreeing with?
And nobody's perfect. And Biden, I don't know for a fact, and you'll yell at me.
I'm not yelling at you.
If it's I know, and I respect you for that.
Yeah.
Is that being a CPA, if you get financial reports against you, which they claim he had for money transfers, then that a little bulb goes off in my head.
Okay, so the bulb can go off in your head, but Comer and the Republicans have been investigating the Biden family, as they call them, the Biden crime family. They literally have found nothing. So I go back to what I said earlier. Donald Trump do you have any kids, sir? If you don't mind me asking.
No, I don't.
Okay, fair enough. So Donald Trump was the guy who went into teenage girl locker rooms. He admitted it on the Howard Stern show. He admitted to seeing some of these women naked. Can you name me anything that Joe Biden has done in his life that even comes close to what Donald Trump self-admitted to going into women's locker rooms to see them naked without their permission? Can you name, you're the one who made the analogy between the two. Can you name me one thing that Joe Biden has ever done in his life that even comes close to that? Proven.
Right. My analogy was they're both politicians, and I don't know if you trust politicians anymore, but I'm old and cynical. I'm
not trusting a politician is different than comparing Joe Biden to Donald Trump, a guy who went into teenage locker rooms. So I'm going to assume that you can't come up with any comparison. Okay.
I don't know anything other than the pictures they show of him sniffing girls' hair.
Okay, hold on a second. Hold on a second.
I don't believe it.
Okay, hold on a second. You don't know anything about Donald Trump when it comes to him self-admitted bragging on the Howard Stern show, going into women's locker rooms. You don't want to talk about that. You don't want to talk about the... Hold on.
I wasn't listening when they said it.
Okay, understood. Well, he said it himself. It wasn't they, it was him. He's also a liable sexual abuser. He has 25 women that have come forward that have accused him of rape or sexual assault. He cheated on his wife, Melania, with Stormy Daniels, unprotected sex, 2 weeks after Barron was born. But yet the one thing that you want to bring up is, quote, Joe Biden sniffing hair. By the way, Joe Biden's never been convicted or charged with a crime ever. But you seem to know a lot about Joe Biden allegedly sniffing hair. but yet you don't know anything about Donald Trump self-admitted going into women's locker rooms and the liable sexual abuse?
The actual stories, the only one I heard was when he was on the filming lot talking about women.
Well, that's one of the 20 issues. You don't know the fact that Donald Trump is a liable sexual abuser? You don't know anything about that case?
Firsthand, no, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm shocked. So you know about Joe Biden sniffing kids, as you claim, but
no, women.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about, but you seem to want to talk.
It's on TV.
It's on TV. Okay, where do you get your William? Where do you get your news from, William? With all respect,
I get my news from listening to your show in the car and sometimes to the Clay and Buck show.
Okay, Clay, yeah, and Buck are, in my opinion, despicable people. But I've never talked about Joe Biden sniffing hair. I have talked about Donald Trump found liable for sexual abuse. If you can give me any court case of Joe Biden that was found liable for any inappropriate behavior, as you claim, sniffing women, then please let me know. Donald Trump is a liable sexual abuser. It was proven in a court of law. He bragged about going into women's locker rooms. He's got 25 plus women, including his ex-wife, in court documents that said that he raped her. So with all due respect, sir, I think all those scenarios are far more serious, and I'm shocked that you're not more troubled by that than a claim that Joe Biden sniffed a woman's hair.
If I had knowledge, like I have no knowledge of tariffs, whether they're good or bad.
Okay, fair enough.
I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for your time. You gave me way too much. I know you have bills to pay, and I'll keep
Thank you, William.
to your show.
William, I'm going to ask you, William, I appreciate that. I'm going to ask you one thing if you can do something for me. Can we do that?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So, William, with respect, I want you to look up some of the things that I just named, the things that Donald Trump has done in his life. And if you can do that for me and call me back, I would appreciate it. Can we do that?
Perfect.
Thank you,
which
William.
One in particular?
I would rather you do all of them, but let's start with Donald Trump's interview on the Howard Stern show where he bragged about going into teenage locker rooms. Can we start there?
Because I never listened to a show, so I apologize.
Okay, well, you could just go on YouTube and find it, and then you call me back. Okay, William?
But keep up the good work.
Thank you, William.
We appreciate you being on the air.
I appreciate you having the guts to call into the show, even though knowing that we would disagree, and I do appreciate you as well, William, and it's fair to have conversations with people that we disagree with without screaming and yelling, and I'm glad we were able to do that, William, because you do sound like a nice guy. I think with all due respect, you're a little bit ill-informed, but you're a nice guy, William. Please do that and call me back. Wow. Okay. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. We are going to go to the YouTube super chat. Becky said, did you see where Musk is donating $100 million in Trump's political organization? Yes, I did see that, Becky. Becky, I did see that, and I do think that is extremely troubling. But again, not surprising. Maybe that's the payment for the infomercial Donald Trump did in front of the White House yesterday. I want to thank Darlene, who thank you for your $20 donation on the YouTube super chat. Darlene says, this guy's crazy and we're laughing at him. Darlene and John. Well, it's important for me not to do that. Maybe I'll laugh at the conversation later, but I want to, if someone's willing to be respectful to me, I'm going to be respectful to them. And I do want those people calling in. Darlene also made another donation saying we are still laughing. We appreciate that. Thank you very much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. And we appreciate the donations on the YouTube super chat. Also, you can go to pushingthelimits.live where you can make donations on there as well. Keith, thank you for your donation. Says Florida has 2 congressional seats up for grabs. Yes, they do. I wonder who's going to be your new governor. There are not a lot of very good candidates, as I've heard. White Boot Man, the governor you have right now, Ron DeSantis, looks like his wife is going to run. She's a weirdo. And I've also heard Byron Donalds has put his name in the ring. So, boy, you guys have a lot of bad choices out there. I feel for you guys. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Paul, who's calling out of Texas. What's up, Paul?
Hey, Brian. How you doing?
Hey, good. What's on your mind, Paul?
The problem with MAGAs is that they only use sound bites, okay? What they use, and if somebody says something, they run with it, whether it's true or not. You cannot get them to debate a point. You cannot get them to look up the facts.
Yeah.
You can't do any of that.
Well, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you. Caroline Levitt is the perfect example of a fake.
Oh,
she's the worst.
She's unbelievable.
Yeah, she's the worst. She puts on that fake cross on her neck just like Laura Ingraham does. And she's a disgrace, and she's married to the Crypt Keeper, by the way. Really good Christian values.
These talking points, like she comes out and Trump comes out, we inherited a mess of an economy.
Well, that's a lie.
If anybody will look at the numbers,
that's a lie.
They will know.
It's a bald-faced lie. It's a lie. You're absolutely right, my friend. And look at our history. Bill Clinton left office with a surplus. And then George W. Bush got us in an ill-advised war. Economy went to the crapper. Took Barack Obama 8 years to turn it around. To his credit, he was able to do so. Left Donald Trump a really good economy. We all know what happened back in 2020 when we were all locked up in our rooms and 3,000 to 5,000 people were dying a day from COVID. Joe Biden in 4 years, I think he did a pretty good job economically. And when you look at the economy that he left Donald Trump this time around, and Donald Trump's doing the exact same thing. Thank you for the call, sir. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Ron. Ron is calling out of Michigan. What's up, Ron? Hi, Ron. Are you there? Ron from Michigan. All right, we lost Ron. Thank you, Mr. Mysterio, leaving a contribution on the YouTube super chat. He says, William seemed like a kind person, but in all reality, it appears that the Russian MAGA propaganda has infiltrated his brain, unfortunately. Love the show. Thank you. Yeah, he did seem like a really nice person. I'm trying to go step by step with him and maybe have him look up some of the stuff that I talked about. Again, the sniffing of the hair, these types of things are what you hear on Newsmax and Fox News on a daily basis. And if you say it enough times, people will believe it. By the way, speaking of sniffing hair and children, why have they released the Epstein files yet? Pam Bondi, who promised she would, has saying, well, it's the deep state, and now it hurts our own national security. Well, I tend to agree. If there's evidence that Donald Trump slept with an underage girl, that would probably hurt our national security. I'm just curious why they haven't released that stuff. That's all. I'm just asking the question, everybody. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to North Las Vegas. And let's go to Eddie, who's calling in. I just ask everybody be on topic. Hello, Eddie.
What up, pushing the live?
Okay, so let's talk about that, Eddie. As I always ask people to be on topic, but I'm going to make an exception for you, and I'm happy to give you the platform. I don't mind if people call me a liar, Eddie. I think you know me by now. But, Eddie, I want to give you the opportunity. Let's just start with today. What lies have I pushed? Can you please be specific, Eddie? And I think we can have a civil conversation. Eddie, what have I said today that's a lie? If you can, go ahead.
Egg prices, gas prices.
Yeah, so egg prices throughout the country are $8 for a dozen eggs. They were $4 late in the Joe Biden administration. So please explain to me how that is a lie. Also, inflation is up 0.2% since Donald Trump took office.
Wrong.
Okay, so where are you getting your information from?
It's called Google. You can use it too.
Okay,
yourself.
so what are egg prices right now, Eddie? I'm just asking you. Educate me.
Prices.
Yep.
Egg prices are down $2 a carton.
Okay,
Gas
so
is down 31
wait. So egg prices are down $2 a carton. So when Joe Biden left office, okay, no problem. So when Joe Biden left office, they were $4 a carton for a dozen eggs. So you're saying now the average price of eggs is $2 a carton?
I said it's down $2 a carton.
Okay, so let's do some math,
Gas
Eddie.
is down
Hold on.
31.
We're going to go one by one, and I'm not going to hang up on you, Eddie. You just said across the country, since Donald Trump took office, egg prices are down $2. I just told you that the average price of eggs when Joe Biden left office was somewhere around $4. So, Eddie, what's 4 minus 2? You're making the claim it's down $2. 4 minus 2 is 2, last I checked. So you're claiming that the average price of eggs is $2. Eddie, all you have to do is a Google search to show yourself that the average price of eggs... Eddie, I need you to listen. We're still talking about eggs, then we'll get to gas. You just said egg prices are down $2. 4 minus 2 is 2. The average price of eggs across the country now is somewhere around $8. Now, last I checked, Eddie, 4 plus 4 is 8. So that's not minus 2. So I ask you again, Eddie, is your math a little off? Because you just said that egg prices are down $2 since Trump took office. That is not true.
That is true.
Okay, well, I'm not. Okay, first of all, Eddie.
Gas prices are
No. You're not going to get away with that. You don't know what you're talking about. The average, I'm going to say it again, so maybe if I speak slowly, somebody like you can understand. Okay? The average price of eggs, I'm going to repeat myself, is somewhere around $8. Okay. Trump even admitted it the other day. Now, he blamed it on Joe Biden and the bird flu, but egg prices are not down. Okay. They're not down. You are 150% wrong. Okay. So either admit you're wrong and say, okay, I might be wrong on that one. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay. They were up in February 10.4%. I am reading it right now. I will read it for you verbatim. Prices for the staple rose 10.4% in February, even as overall inflation eased a little bit. And now inflation is back headed in the wrong direction after these tariff threats in March. So, Eddie, either you're going to admit you're wrong and you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. As I just said, they're not down $2. Egg prices have risen since Donald Trump took office. Are you going to admit you're wrong and either you don't know what you're talking about or you're the liar? Which is it going to be, Eddie?
Inflation is down to 1.3%.
All right, pot him down again. The data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics showed that egg prices rose 10.4% since Donald Trump has took office. You can look that up if you don't believe me. Food prices broadly rose 0.2% in February or 2.8% compared to the same time last year. I'm literally reading the stats right now as we speak from the Bureau. Okay, I just read it for you. Okay, I'm reading it verbatim, the data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Where are you getting your information from, Eddie, with all respect?
Gas prices are down to
Eddie, I need you to answer my question because, quite frankly, you've just proved to all my listeners that you're an idiot and you don't know what you're talking about. I just gave you the stats, literally, the data that was released in February from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. I'm literally giving you my source. I want you to tell all of my listeners your source. Go ahead, Eddie. Tell us your source.
Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins.
Okay.
On Tuesday.
Okay.
Today, yesterday.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Down $2.
Egg prices.
God,
okay.
Stuck on
okay.
Eggs.
Pot them down again. Eddie, down $2 from when? When Donald Trump took office or the last week? This is very important, Eddie, because you see, I'm talking about where they have gone from day one since Donald Trump took office. So they're down $2 from when, Eddie? That's kind of important. Eddie, did we
down $2?
No. Eddie, down. Eddie. I need you to listen to my question, sir, and I'm going to speak very slowly. Down $2 from when? You see, when you say prices are down, you have to give a starting point. Are they down $2 since Donald Trump took office, or are they down $2 from a week ago? Eddie, can you please answer that very direct question because it's kind of important?
Listen to me very carefully.
I am.
Down $2.
From when? Listen to me very carefully. Down $2 from when? Answer the question.
Fucking idiot.
All right, there you go. There goes the ad hominem attack and the swear. Eddie, I think we proved once again that you're a complete imbecile. I think we know who the real idiot is in this conversation. You see, Eddie, when I say prices are down, it could be from 1955 or it could be from last week. The key, Eddie, is are prices down $2 with eggs from a week ago or from when Donald Trump took office? You see, Eddie, prices on eggs are up from the point when Donald Trump took office 7 or so weeks ago. I think we know who the idiot is, Eddie. The idiot is you. Prices might be down $2 from a week ago, but they're not down from when Donald Trump first took office. Thank you, Eddie, and thank you for proving to my listeners on PTL that you're another MAGA imbecile that doesn't know what the hell you're talking about. Go buy your eggs, Eddie, and throw them, crash them onto your face and have a nice day. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Man, we're getting a lot of calls from Vegas today. Let's go to John. John is calling from Vegas today. What's up, John?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Good. It's going okay. A little frustrating, but it's going okay.
I just wanted to chime in a little bit. I'm not a big politician or into politics all that much. I'm just kind of a voice of reason. And I think that, everything you're saying about Donald Trump that's been proven, 100% true, whatever, his court document and all that.
Right.
But at the same time, you made a statement that what has Biden been charged with, that doesn't always mean somebody's innocent, right? Just because he's gotten away with it.
But John, what it does mean is something was proven in a court of law, and I think there is some credibility to that as opposed to somebody just making allegations that haven't been proven.
Right, but you can look at a statistic. You can pull up any statistic you'd like, and you'll see that the people that are found guilty versus people who get away with it, it's always going to be about 50-50.
Okay, I don't know. How did you come up with that statistic?
Look up the murder Look up the murder charge.
What
Look
murder?
Up how many murders go? Look up how many murders go unsolved.
So Donald Trump,
solved.
Donald Trump hasn't been accused or convicted or charged with murder, and neither does Joe Biden.
No, it's a general. It's just a general.
So we're talking about Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, and maybe you could tell me
Right.
some credible things that people have said about Joe Biden that may or may not have been proven. I'm trying to stick to facts, John, with respect. And the fact of the matter is that Donald Trump was proven in a court of law that he was found liable for sexual abuse. So it's an issue.
Sexual abuse, that's completely different, right? Let's talk about politics though, because personal lives, who knows? Politicians have secrets everywhere. So we can't sit here and because of what's been exposed versus what hasn't, that's all speculative.
Okay, I'm not speculating. Hold on. I'm not speculating, and while I agree with you that the economy is very important, and I'm happy to have that conversation with you, I'm not speculating when I say Donald Trump is a liable sexual abuser. I'm not speculating when a jury of his peers found that he was liable for sexual abuse. I'm not speculating when I say 25 women have made claims, allegedly, not proven in a courtroom, but 25 women have claimed that he is that he raped them or were victims of sexual abuse. So let's get to the economy.
Do you think being in that position doesn't put a target on your back, though?
A lot of these. Okay, so let's.
Everybody out here is just
sure. So let's
not
talk.
ill-willed.
Sure, fair point. So let's talk about that for a moment. Are you claiming because when Donald Trump got into politics, he was a target? Is that? I'm assuming that's the point you're making. Is that fair?
I'm saying regardless, his stature, his status.
So Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban is a billionaire, a self-made billionaire. Can you name me one woman that accused Mark Cuban of sexual abuse?
I'm sure if you look deep enough into it, there's somebody out there.
No, there's not. And Mark Cuban has never been found liable for sexual abuse. By the way, Donald Trump, his own ex-wife accused him of rape in a court deposition before he ever ran for office. So I think that's a very poor excuse. There's a lot of rich people in this country, and I can tell you a lot of those rich people were not on Jeffrey Epstein's flight log. A lot of those rich people Epstein didn't call their best friends. So with respect, sir, I disagree with you. But you mentioned the economy, and I'm happy, John, to have that conversation with you. What has Donald Trump done positively for the economy in the last 7 weeks?
And that's okay. Like, let's be real, man. It's been 7 weeks.
Okay,
so let's even buy a property without.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Nope.
Like,
okay, fair enough.
How do you expect the economy to change?
Okay, so let's talk about Donald Trump the first 4 years in his first administration. When Donald Trump left office, the unemployment rate was higher than when he took office. There were people that were locked up in their rooms. 3,000 to 5,000 people lost their jobs, and we had one of the lowest unemployment rates in the history of this nation. Oh, yeah, he also got us $8.2 trillion in debt, more than any other living president in our lifetime. That's a 4-year window. What would you say to that 4-year window when we talk about the economy, sir?
I say that the economy was 100% stronger at the end of his term than in the beginning.
At the end of his term, the entire country was shut down. At the end of his term, unemployment rate was the worst it's been in the history of this country in my lifetime. At the end of his term, we were all locked up in our rooms and the country was shut down and we were losing 3,000 to 5,000 people a day. How could you make the case that the economy was thriving at the end of his term when the entire country was shut down?
The entire world was shut down. So
well,
how is that at all fault of Donald Trump?
You just said the economy was thriving when he left office. You're the one making the argument, not me. You're the guy who just said that. You have to defend it.
Keep COVID out of the economy. That has nothing to do with the economy.
So hold on. Let me just get this right from this gentleman. John, I'm trying to be respectful to you, but it's going to be very hard when you make a statement like that. John, a MAGA supporter, which is fine, just said COVID has nothing to do with the economy. John, did I just get you right? Did you just say COVID has no direct correlation to the economy? Is that what you just said?
That's exactly what I said.
Okay, so John, I'm going to try to keep a straight face here, John, with respect, because I appreciate you calling in. You're saying when the country is locked down and we're losing 3,000 to 5,000 people a day from COVID, businesses are being shut down, and you don't think any of that has any direct correlation to our economy?
What was Donald Trump supposed to do personally?
That is a different question. You said the economy was thriving when Donald Trump left office. I proved to you that it wasn't based on the numbers. And obviously, COVID had a lot to do with that. And you just said COVID has nothing to do with the economy, which is an asinine thing to say, with all due respect, sir. I don't blame, and to answer your question now, I don't blame Donald Trump for COVID. I blame him for the handling of COVID. 15 cases down to 0. It's going to be gone by Easter. Talking about disinfectant. Using COVID press conferences as political rallies attacking Joe Biden. Sir, you seem like a nice guy. To say that COVID doesn't affect our economy, would you like to retract that statement? I will give you the opportunity. It affected it affected the economy all over the world, in every country.
Look, this is what I'll do. COVID affected the economy to the fullest extent.
Thank you.
Now, where the economy was at prior to COVID, that's what you would have to really base it off.
Okay, so let's talk about that. I think that's very fair, John, and I appreciate you correcting the record with what you said. I do appreciate that. So, John, before COVID hit, the unemployment numbers were higher than when Joe Biden left office. Now, if you don't believe me, you can look at the Department of Labor and you can look that up for yourself. So with that being the case, would you give Joe Biden a little bit of credit for that? You can look that up, by the way, if you don't believe me. I work very hard to not try to make things up. Does that mean anything?
Man, I'm not going to say Joe Biden's term was completely useless. Like, it's not like that at all. All I'm saying is that Donald Trump, from a business, because America's a business, man. Like, I'm not saying that, he's so successful in the business game, but I'm saying we have to give it a chance to be run by somebody
so for 4 years, fair enough, John, fair enough. I appreciate that. Donald Trump got us $8.2 trillion in debt in 4 years, more debt than any other president in my lifetime. Would you say that that's how you run a business? Getting us $8.2 trillion in debt? That was 4 years.
Isn't that the name of the game, man? Like, every year, money's always going to increase.
Wait, hold on. So the name of the game is to get us in the most debt we've ever had in my lifetime? John, think about what you're saying for a moment. No, that's not the name of the game. The name of the game is what Bill Clinton did. He left us with a surplus. It's not the name of the game to get us in more debt. John, can we at least agree on that? That's not the name of the game.
Houses also cost $60,000 when Bill Clinton left office, so it's completely irrelevant.
It's very relevant. We had a president who left his term with a surplus. We had a president in Donald Trump who got us $8.2 trillion in debt. Obama didn't do that. Joe Biden didn't do that. Donald Trump got us in more debt than any living president. How could you say that's not relevant? You're saying he's this great businessman, which also I completely disagree with you on. And now we're living in a state where you don't want to, it's only been 7 weeks. The guy was president for 4 years and he got us $8.2 trillion in debt. How could you say that's not relevant, John, with respect?
7 weeks is nothing compared to a 4 year
I'm not talking about 7 weeks. I'm talking about 4 years. You made that argument, and I could disagree with you and say the 25% tariffs are ruining the economy. Unemployment is up since he took office. Inflation is up since he took office. People are getting laid off left and right. So I can make the argument that I disagree with you, but I'm putting that aside, John. I'm trying to tell you that the guy was president for 4 years, and he got us more in debt than any other president, and you're saying that's irrelevant. So which is it? A president getting us in debt is not relevant? Is that what you're saying? That's the name of the game?
Riddle me this. Did we start off at zero debt when he got in, or did we just increase the debt that we were already in?
I will do it, but I won't riddle it for you because I'm not good at riddles, John. So Barack Obama left us with a thriving economy. Take a look at the numbers. I'll riddle you that Bill Clinton left us with a surplus. George W. Bush got us in an ill-advised war and ruined the economy based on every standard and every number. Barack Obama in 8 years turned the economy around, left Donald Trump with a thriving economy. At the end of Trump's administration, where you said the economy was thriving, which is unbelievably and factually inaccurate, Joe Biden had to pick up the pieces. We had the lowest unemployment rate we had in 50 years. We had the CHIPS and Science Act. We had the bipartisan infrastructure bill. We had bipartisan gun legislation that was passed, the most in decades. By the way, Donald Trump said he would pass that bipartisan infrastructure bill. He wasn't able to do so. We had insulin capped at $35 for Plan A and Plan D, where millions of more Americans were getting their insulin capped at $35. Donald Trump just signed an executive order not allowing those millions of Americans to get their insulin capped at $35. We have a 4-year window. Forget about the first 7 weeks. We have a 4-year window where I've proven to you that Donald Trump taked our economy. The handling of COVID was an F-. What did he do that you would brag about? And what has he done in the first 7 weeks that you think is good? Do you think it's good that so many undocumented immigrants that are not violent, that pay their taxes, are getting deported? Do you think it's good that all these government workers are losing their jobs, so many of them that happen to be veterans? Do you think it's good that the biggest tax breaks for the top 1% are going to thrive the economy? Do you think that's good for the economy, John?
I don't. I really don't.
You know what? We finally got somewhere, John, and I appreciate your honesty, my friend. I appreciate you calling into the show. I also appreciate the fact that you're willing to say, okay, I might have misspoke, and I do appreciate that. And I also appreciate you calling in, John, because you answered my questions, even though we disagree, and you're welcome to call back anytime. I think we actually got somewhere in that phone call. John, I do appreciate you calling in, my friend, and you're welcome to call back anytime. Thank you for coming to some sort of agreement there at the end of that phone call. I got to be honest with you. He made a mistake and he misspoke and he said COVID had nothing to do with the economy. I'm glad we were able to clear that up. And I'm also glad he was able to admit that so many of Donald Trump's actions in the first 7 weeks have tanked the economy. Keith, thank you for your donation. Keith said, Brian, these are two congressional seats. Yes, I totally hear you on that one when it comes to Florida. And whatever other statements you're referring to. Juan, thank you for your donation. Would John concede that all these tweets saying international crisis, food, energy can all be done in one day? Was that a joke? Yeah, Juan, I'm with you on that one, pal. Hyperspace, Brian, I heard TN is making a bill to keep undocumented kids out of the public schools. Absolutely cruel. I agree with you. That is absolutely cruel. I hope that doesn't pass. And you could also go to pushingthelimits.live, by the way, and make donations on there and buy shirts, hats, beanies, you name it. Duke, thank you for your donation. Duke says it's easier to con someone. I saw that up there, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to finish reading that one. But we'll get back. There you go, Duke. It is easier to con someone than it is to convince them they've been conned. I agree, Duke, 150%. All right, let's get back to the calls. We've had some interesting MAGA calls today, but at least they've been respectful. Who are we going to next here? STEM is calling in next. Where is STEM calling in from? Illinois. What's up, STEM?
Hey, Brian. Thanks for giving me time.
Sure.
Your show is amazing. So I want to talk about the oligarchy, right? So
sure.
We saw yesterday the greatest salesman in the White House of the history. So I was born in the USSR, right? I spent some time living in Russia and Ukraine. I have a cousin who's fighting in the war right now from the Russian side and from the Ukrainian side. They shooting each other. And what I want to talk about the oligarchy, the weakness here in the United States. I live here for 18 years. I love the country, the best country in the world before the Donald Trump came. The people are weak for the propaganda, and they don't know what this oligarchy means. They never live. No one in the United States lives in one day under oligarchy regime. I live in Russia. I know how this works. I know what the dodgy Musk is doing right now.
Can I ask you? May I ask you? And sir, I just want to get some context. So you're from Russia, is that correct?
I was born in Russia, but ethnic Ukraine. I was born in a part of the Russia. When the Russia,
I appreciate that. So, sir, I want to ask you a question. What went through your mind when Donald Trump called Vladimir Zelensky a dictator, and he hasn't said anything close to that about Putin? What went through your mind, sir? As someone who was born in Russia and has spent time in Ukraine, what went through your mind when Trump said that?
Well, it's typical from Trump. First, it's coming from because he has no plan at all how to finish the war. So he took the weakest side, which is Ukraine, because Ukraine depends from the Russian weapons and satellites, everything so he took the weakest guy because Ukraine depends on them and pushing on him because Trump has nothing to do to the Putin. Nothing.
What? So do you think the way I think that Putin is just playing him to get what he wants?
Of course.
Yeah.
It's the KGB tactics, so they know Trump really good.
I want you to do me a favor. If you had the opportunity to speak to Donald Trump right now, what would you say to him?
Well, I will say them the Putin just use you. Russian don't want a peace. He doesn't know Russians at all. But once he said, well, I have a Russian friend. Russians are good people. They're not good people. I know their mentality. Right now, they full-time living in the war. My cousins right now, who brainwashed by propaganda, wants to kill part of my family, you know.
Oh my
It's
God!
madness.
I'm so sorry
You
to
know,
hear
it's
that.
a madness.
Your
And,
family? Where does your
and,
family? Where does your family live right now?
It's a city in Odessa. It's the south of Ukraine.
Oh my
bombing
gosh!
every day.
I'm so
And,
sorry. I'm so
this is,
sorry. Ugh.
Trump called these people is nice, you know, like he doesn't know no one. Even right now, when I facing some time with the Maga people, they try to justify the Russians, and the one thing, they don't know nothing about the Russians.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I agree. I agree with you. I'm going to tell you this, my friend. I'm going to pray for your family. You sound like a very nice man, and I'm going to pray for your family. And I'm so sorry that you're going through this. You sound like a very intelligent and educated man, and for somebody that was born in Russia and spent a lot of time in Ukraine, you have a lot of credibility to this issue. We want the war to end, but it's not going to end so long as Vladimir Putin gets all the concessions that he wants. Thank you so much for your call. I'm humbled by your phone call, and I'm so sorry for what your family is going through, my friend. And it sickens me that our administration in America is not supporting people like members of your family. It sickens me, sir. And I so appreciate you. I really do. Let's go to Carl. Carl is calling from Vegas. What's up, Carl?
Yeah, hey, Dad. Listen, breaking news here. Trump was trying to help sell Musk's cars. Well, there's something that he just came out with you didn't hear about. It's called the Trump sandwich. He's trying to push. Did you ever hear about that yet?
I did not hear about the Trump sandwich. Tell me.
Well, it's a very large sandwich full of bologna. It's got Russian dressing and a very small pickle.
Well, I think Stormy Daniels, Carl, might have. I think Stormy Daniels might have something to say about that. Carl, you made me laugh, my friend, and that's sometimes these days. I got to be honest with you, Carl. That's a challenge. So that's a funny joke, and I appreciate you, Carl, and I really do appreciate you calling in as well. That's a funny joke. The Trump sandwich, ladies and gentlemen. I like the small pickle there. I don't think Melania Trump likes it as much as I do. 702-221-7283. Erica went on the YouTube super chat. She says, "Hi, Brian. I'm a big fan of the show. Thank you for pushing back against the crazy MAGA rhetoric." You got it, Erica. As long as there's people like you that support this show every day, you're damn right I'm going to do that. And I appreciate your support. You can also go on pushingthelimits.live and make monthly donations there. And we sell shirts, hats, beanies, you name it. We sell it on there, pushingthelimits.live. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Shelly. Shelly is calling out of West Virginia. What's up, Shelly?
Brian, are there brain worms in Russia?
Well, there might be. I don't know. There might be.
Oh, God. We could save a lot of money if we would just quit giving Elon Musk government contracts, okay?
Shelley, do you also find it interesting that it doesn't sound like Elon Musk is going to find any fraud within his own companies? Do you find that interesting?
No, absolutely not, dear.
Interesting, isn't it? I don't know. Maybe it's just a coincidence. I don't know.
And is it illegal, or I think it should be, but I'm not sure. Is it illegal to do an infomercial for somebody that works?
Sadly, no.
For your
sadly, no. Unfortunately, Shelley, what Donald Trump did yesterday, and yesterday was one of the few days he didn't do anything illegal. It's not illegal to do what Donald Trump did. It's basically you rub my shoulder, I'll rub yours, or maybe they're rubbing something else. I don't know, but now it might have been embarrassing, it might have been unethical, but my understanding is not illegal. Thank you for the call, Shelley, and thank you to the weirdo who said, "Why is it 4 years ago MAGA called electric vehicle owner soy boy beta male?" That's true. And now you're an alpha capitalist. Well, because he's a two-faced liar. But the weirdo point very well taken. Trump was saying the opposite about electric vehicles several years ago. But you know what? When somebody gives $300 to $400 million to your campaign, it's not a surprise that he's changed his mind on that one. You know what? Let's go to Lauren. Can we go to Lauren next? Actually, let's go to Lauren. Hi, Lauren. What's going on?
I just heard the conversation with the guy about Trump's the amount of money that was spent during his administration.
Mm-hmm.
And I recently read a thing from the Office of Management and Budget where Trump's actual expenditures were $6.5 trillion during his administration.
So that's not the number.
Biden's was 7.5.
No, that's not the number that I saw. I don't know what source you're reading that from, but
It's from the Office of Management and Budget.
The Office of Management and Budget. Okay, well,
Congressional Office of Management and Budget.
So by the numbers that you are claiming that Joe Biden got us more in debt in 4 years than Donald Trump, I've never heard that claim by even Republicans who have made that claim because it's not true. But you can gladly email me, and I will take a look at your source, and I will do my best to fact check it. But sometimes, unfortunately,
OMB.
Yeah, so that might entail. First of all, I would like to know what that entails and what the standards were and who came up with that report. But every report that I've read from multiple sources, which I've talked about on this show, is that Donald Trump got us $8.2 trillion in debt, and Joe Biden didn't even come close to that in the 4 years he was president. And even Nikki Haley brought that up when she was running for president. That Republicans have put up even four times more proposals that Republicans have put up, and the debt that they've got us in compared to Democrats as a whole, the history of this country.
Right. I mean, I understand, and I'm not trying to say, see what they got.
I understand.
I just got, I did read that.
I didn't say I didn't say you were doing that.
No, I know you did.
Yeah,
I wasn't. I just wanted to let you know I wasn't doing that.
I
mean, because I've read a lot of the same stuff that you've read when where it showed that Trump actually spent more money.
Right.
I mean, I know that COVID started under Trump, but I mean, the largest percentage of it was during the Biden administration.
Well, I would disagree with that characterization, but are you happy with Donald Trump's first 7 weeks in office?
Am I happy?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think he's done a good job, or?
I'm cautious at this point. I think there's things that I'm satisfied with, and things that our country up until 1913 didn't have a personal income tax. We supported the country through tariffs.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know that much about tariffs. Other than family during Trump's previous administration, where they had bought something from China.
Okay, so we can get into the weeds on that, but I just want to read you something, Lauren, now that I have you on the line. So Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis claimed that President Trump got us $8 trillion in debt. By the way, for the most part, these statements are true. Again, according to the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget and many other organizations, they've actually estimated that the 10-year cost of the legislation and executive actions President Trump signed into law was somewhere around $8.4 trillion. And again, Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis pretty much confirmed that. They said $8 trillion, so they were pretty close. So when you have Republicans that are even saying that, I would put a little bit of credence to that with respect to then something that you had reported. And again, I'd have to look at that and see. But, again, Joe Biden didn't get us $8 trillion in debt. It was approved by Donald Trump, and it came in the form of legislation with costly executive actions largely offset by the expansion of tariffs. The only point that I try to make, Lauren, is that Donald Trump and Republicans in general in my lifetime have not been fiscally responsible, and they've gotten this country in far more debt than the Democrats have ever done. And Nikki Haley even talked about that.
I'll agree with you on that, especially during the Bush administration involving us in two wars that I was opposed to.
Yeah, as was I. They can claim faulty intelligence, but I think they wanted an excuse to get Osama, to get not Osama, excuse me, to get Saddam Hussein. We found him in a hole with a pellet gun and a candy bar. And I believe a lot of people made a lot of money, including Dick Cheney and Halliburton, off of an ill-advised war that should have never happened. And under Barack Obama, we were able to get Osama bin Laden, who was the mastermind behind the 9/11 attacks, which is a good thing.
Right.
Well, Lauren, I appreciate your phone call, sir. Thank you very much. It's fun sometimes to do fact checking in real time. I was able to do that there. I'm not always able to do that. All right, it's time for our favorite MAGA destroyer. I know Numchuck is a very big fan as well, rightfully so. Darlene, what's going on, man, from Oklahoma? What's up, Darlene?
Hi, Brian. Brian, now listen, you won't say it, but I'm going to say it. Eddie and John, those are two perfect examples why we should not get rid of the Department of Education, because they are just dumb and uneducated.
Okay, so Darlene, I would say the uneducated part or ill-informed part is definitely true. And I'm not saying I'm going to change my persona. I'm not going to change who I am. However, if I can get through to some of these people when a MAGA Republican runs in 2028, then I'm doing my job, and I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to try. I'm not saying I'm going to be effective, but I'm going to try. Going to make an effort.
And I'll tell you something else we need to do. Let's just remember all these Republicans.
Yeah.
The Republicans that are kissing the ring of Donald Trump. Let's just remember, so when Donald Trump's long gone and they still want to have their positions, everybody vote them out.
Well, Darlene, I'm with you 150%, my dear, and it's good to hear from you. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Let's go to Phil. Phil is calling in out of New York. What's up, Phil?
Hey, Brian, I wanted to ask you a question.
Sure.
Did you hear anything about the economic blackout that was, it happened Friday the 28th of February? Did you hear anything about it?
It
was an economic blackout.
I'm unfamiliar with that. I can look into it for you, but I don't want to speak to it because I am unfamiliar.
Okay, so here's a subject that we need to discuss. I think our media has been really bad about reporting what's been going on in the country. Do you agree? The media?
Here's the way I will answer that question. I think the members of the media have normalized Donald Trump and his administration. Some have. I think others have done a better job. I think right-wing media fills it up with conspiracy theories, and many of them wear the Donald Trump knee pads. And I am disappointed with CNN and other left-leaning entities that hire right-wing panelists that do nothing but lie and smirk the entire time. And I think as a whole, I am disappointed in the media in general.
Well, they're not reporting what's happening in the country. I mean, we've had all these protests all over the country.
So let me ask you a question. Do you think I'm reporting on it fairly? Do you think I'm for the most?
Absolutely.
Okay, well,
yes.
I appreciate you saying that. So I agree with you, okay? As a whole, in general. While Midas Touch and there are other entities, David Pacman, there are.
I listened to them all, too.
Good.
Yes.
I think for the most part, they do a great job. I agree with you.
Oh, I do too.
I agree.
Well, that's where I get my information.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I agree with you. We cannot normalize this man and what the damage he's doing to this country. And I agree with you. It needs to be hit home every single day so that the Democrats have a better, but the Democrats are not good with the messaging either. I think you would agree with me. There are some Democrats that are spineless.
Oh, right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad.
Bernie's doing it, though. Bernie's doing it.
Listen,
He's out there
Bernie.
doing it.
Bernie did this show a couple months ago. I've always had a ton of respect for Bernie Sanders, the Eric Swalwells of the world, the Jasmine Crockett's of the world. Golden and others. There are some within the Democrat Party. Josh Shapiro is another one. So I'm with you, my friend. All that I can do, my friend, all that I can do is call it out every day. All that we can do in the PTL family is call it out every day. Do not normalize this despicable orange orangutan and continue to fight. But I'm not talking about the Lauren Boebert fight. You remember that? What was she doing? What was that? It was like I don't know if it was a Beetlejuice masturbation dance or if it was I don't know. What would you call that? It's a weird dance. I think it was a Beetlejuice dance. I don't know. Fight, fight, fight. Can you imagine? I hate to bring this up, but can you imagine while she's pleasuring Kid Rock? Fight, fight, fight. And then Kid Rock, fight, fight, fight. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm sorry. I know it's lunchtime and a lot of people have lost their appetite. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to New York again. Let's go to Courtney. Courtney's calling out of New York. What's up, Courtney?
Hey, how you doing, Brian? It's been a little minute. I just wanted to get your take on what the hell Congress is doing. I feel like we're in some kind of goddamn Twilight Zone. I was yelling at all of them last Friday about the fact that we're censoring Al Green over decorum, and all the man did was yell out, "You don't have a mandate," when we have this Russian asset, rapist, crook in the White House completely dismantling the democracy with a cat-minded freak helping him. Why
listen,
are we voting to censor Al Green?
I agree. So I spoke to Ron Filipkowski about that very subject today in the first segment. I don't know if you heard, and I agree with you. I'm so disappointed in Jared Moskowitz and the 9 other Democrats that voted to censure Green. It's time these Democrats toughen up and show a backbone. But if they keep doing what they're doing, MAGA Republicans are going to continue to win. And you and I both don't want that to happen. And that's why I criticize the left for some of whom are spineless. We need more Josh Shapiro's and Jasmine Crockett's of the world. And we need more or less Jared Moskowitz's and others that have shown that they don't have a spine.
Yeah, because I'm concerned that we're not going to have Hitler undid the parliamentary democracy in Germany within 53 days. The guy that was speaking before about it's only been 7 weeks. Oh, yeah, it's only been 7 weeks, but he's fired thousands of people, ruined the economy, sided with Russia over Ukraine. He's trying to get rid of the Board of Education. It's been 7 horrific weeks in which he's dismantling the entire democracy.
Listen, I completely agree with you. And any MAGA Republican that wants to say, well, it's only been 7 weeks. You can go back to the 4 years of his first administration, which I did with one of the callers. And I agree with you, my dear. It's time Democrats show a backbone. And listen, Gavin Newsom doing puffer interviews with Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk ain't helping. Let's go to Mark, who's calling out of Las Vegas. Hey, Mark, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian, you and I have talked numerous times. But by the way, the earlier caller who said, oh, I get my information from Google, I can also find flat earth kinds of people and all sorts of wonderful things on Google.
That's true.
And by the way, you're imagining of Marjorie Taylor Greene and Kid Rock together. Didn't you call her Chewbacca? So
well, no.
Isn't that a gay thing?
No. So just to correct you, though, that's funny. Lauren Boebert and Kid Rock have been dating. So,
oh yeah.
But I do point well taken, though. Point well taken.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, a couple of things that I wanted to get to. One, when federal workers are fired without cause, I imagine that they could go apply for unemployment benefits, which means they are not that the money isn't just dropping out of the budget. It's just going elsewhere.
Right.
And I like to make the point that federal programs and workers, they're not just pocketing this money. It's not like it disappears. They're out there spending into our local economy, and all these idiots calling in saying it's going to save money. Well, what it's going to do is it's going to drive the economy down. We can already see the markets reacting to tariffs.
So, Mark, I agree with what you just said, and I don't think you have to be an economist to understand that. However, did you see Caroline Levette's answer to these tariffs yesterday? The woman literally doesn't even know what a tariff is, and she doesn't understand that people like you and me, the American consumer, are the ones that are going to suffer for it.
Yeah, of course. We pay higher prices.
Right.
Tariffs aren't going to be on China or Russia or whatever, or Canada. We pay those here. Hey, listen to me, MAGA idiots. We pay the tariffs. You pay the tariffs when you go get gas, when you go to the grocery store, when you buy anything.
Anybody who says, Mark, that the tariffs are a great thing and it's going to be great for the American economy are the same people that think the earth is flat. These are the same people that think Donald Trump won the 2020 election. Thank you, Blue Eye Media, for your super chat. Says, thank you, Brian, for playing the flute of the globe and calling out that mainstream media will never say. Thank you, Blue Eye Media. I would say those that are actually playing Donald Trump's flute are Caroline Levette, Kash Patel, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and others. I think they play the orange orangutan flute every single day, if you catch my drift. Thank you for the donation. We appreciate you very, very much. I've got about 30 seconds. I'll take one more call. Thank you, Tracy, by the way, for your donation from Ontario, Canada. Tracy, thank you. I appreciate your donation. Who are we going to next year? Edward, I got about 30 seconds for you, my friend. Go right ahead.
Hey, Brian, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Hey, just a quick question to you and your viewers. Hey, out of all the races, what would you say is your least favorite race?
Well, to answer that question, I would not answer the question. I don't have a least favorite race. Edward, my least favorite race is orange orangutan, the guy that's the president of the United States. I don't have a least favorite race because I don't judge people based on race. I don't judge people based on ethnicity. I don't judge people based on sexuality. So I wouldn't be able to answer that question because that's not who I am. I think that's the question you would have to ask a racist like Donald Trump or so many of these white supremacist MAGA supporters. But Edward, I appreciate your phone call. So I get a lot of, by the way, great guests lined up tomorrow. Ed Krasenstein is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. He's been covering the Tate brothers. Did Donald Trump and his administration allow the Tate brothers into the United States of America? Ed Krasenstein has been on that. He's going to talk to us about that tomorrow. And the man who some said were responsible, including law enforcement at the time, for a third assassination attempt on Donald Trump, it turned out to be false, and now he's suing the police department. That man is going to be joining us in studio tomorrow. Here's the catch on this. He's a big Trump supporter. He's going to be in studio, and he's going to take your calls. So you're not going to want to miss that. That's all going to be tomorrow. I get people every single day. Brian, I love the show. I just started listening. How do I get more involved? How can I support what you do? Nobody pays me to tell me what to say, okay, with my opinions on politics. So we rely on good people like you. What can you do to help? Well, the first step, go to pushingthelimits.live. If you go to pushingthelimits.live, you can make donations, monthly donations, $5, $10, $20 a month, whatever you can afford. We appreciate it. We also sell PTL merchandise on there. Shirts, hats, beanies, mugs, you name it, we sell it. And of course, the YouTube chat, subscribing to my YouTube page, which is free, at PTL Radio Show. We just passed 80,000 subscribers. Give me the thumbs up, likes, be interactive on my YouTube page. That's the best way you could help support what we do here. And we appreciate all of you that made very charitable donations in the YouTube Super Chat. Thank you all for being here. It's going to be another interesting day tomorrow, that is for sure. And we appreciate you guys for joining us. Thanks to Ron Filipowski from Midas Touch from joining us as well. See you tomorrow.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas.
And then,
forget about it.
Yeah, I think you. Oh, that's right. I think you did.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina